The United States may launch a military intervention within Mexico in a matter of years. While some might say that this seems like something out of history, out of the realm of possibility in today's day and age, there are some interesting signs that it could become a modern reality. Hello audience, Mr. Z here with another video for you. If you're new to the channel, welcome. We have videos like this every week on alternate history, geopolitics, and more, so be sure to subscribe and stay tuned. Before we go any further, I'd like to take a moment to thank everyone who's donated to us on Patreon, Utreon, and right here on YouTube through channel memberships. Your donations really go a long way to keeping this channel going, and by donating to us across any of these platforms, you'll get access to some great perks including physical merch, a custom designed flag wallpaper, and access to an exclusive members-only Discord server where you can enter your scenarios for a chance to have them made into full videos. You can follow the pop-up on screen here, go to the comment section or description to visit any of these pages and support our channel, and of course you can do so by clicking the join button right below this video. If you can't donate anything, consider subscribing and sharing this video to help the channel out. Now, back to the video. Since the decline of Mexico's Institutional Revolutionary Party, the party which held near uncontested rule of the country from 1929 to 2000, the nation has seen a major spike in instability, crime, and violence, to the point that many parts of Mexico, an estimated 25 to 35% of the country, are under the near warlord-like rule of multiple cartels which the Mexican government has been unable to suppress. It might even be argued that Mexico's government is losing its war against the cartels and slowly surrendering to them, as in late spring of 2023, Mexico's President Andrés Obrador stated that he was willing to open peace discussions with Mexico's largest cartels to finally end the violence which the military has been unable to bring to an end after over 15 years of official conflict. Beyond this, data leaks confirmed authentic by the Mexican president have revealed that cartels have in fact penetrated Mexico's government and military, police officers, government officials, and soldiers being documented as protecting, providing information, and selling weapons to the cartel groups, allowing them to prolong the conflict and reach the level of strength they now hold. There is a great video from History Legends that you should check out as well if you're interested in learning more about how the cartels are rapidly outcompeting government forces on the streets. Alright, this was kind of unplanned, but we wound up making videos on this at the same time, so definitely check out his video after this on how an American intervention in Mexico could go. For many American citizens, this has been concerning because for years Mexico's troubles have spilled over across the border into the United States. Over 15 million illegal immigrants are currently residing within the country, with an estimated hundreds if not thousands more entering the country nearly every day, the vast majority of whom enter through the Mexican-American border, and a good number of which aren't even citizens of Mexico, but merely taking advantage of the country's lacking regulations and security to enter the United States. This has left many with concerns about precisely who is entering the country, especially if such individuals have links to major terrorist groups from overseas. Of the new arrivals, many of those migrants who are citizens of Mexico are motivated to flee by the very conditions created by the cartels, creating a vicious cycle which sees Mexico's problems go unsolved and slowly brings those same troubles to the United States. These illegal immigrants strain the American job market, discouraging businesses from raising wages for American workers when illegal workers will do the same jobs for less than minimum wage, further leaving fewer job opportunities for American citizens. Hundreds and even thousands of metric tons of drugs are smuggled across the border both by the cartels and by individuals, with these same drugs contributing to some 100,000 overdose deaths among Americans every year, over twice as many deaths as caused by guns in the same period. This is not even taking into account that the southern border has become a hotbed for human trafficking, so much so that it is estimated to be a multi-billion-dollar industry for these modern-day slavers. Beyond this, some of the same violence and gang activity which has plagued Mexico has now begun emerging in the United States. The United States has even seen the growth of the domestic Mexican mafia, a group which originated in the United States and which is regarded to be just as powerful and as dangerous as any of Mexico's largest cartels. For these reasons, as well as on account of a slow and half-hearted effort at securing the border by both countries, not just one but several American politicians, particularly on the side of the Republican Party, have begun demanding that if Mexico continues to demonstrate an inability to stabilize itself, that the United States will use its own military force to stabilize the country. The politician receiving perhaps the most scrutiny for this proposal is presidential hopeful Vivek Ramaswamy, who called for a special military operation into Mexico for the purpose of eradicating the cartels. But Vivek isn't alone in this position. A total of 4 high-profile Republican presidential candidates in 2024 have made military intervention in Mexico a part of their platform. Vivek Ramaswamy, Tim Scott, Nikki Haley, and of course Donald Trump. Meanwhile, nearly every declared Republican candidate has called for at minimum the classification of the cartels as terrorist groups. In Congress, a wide range of Republicans from Tom Cotton to Dan Crenshaw to Mike Waltz have all vocalized support for military intervention in Mexico, with many others across both parties calling for at minimum a stronger response to such groups. The Democratic position has long aimed to treat the effects of Mexican instability, arguing for pathways to citizenship, providing treatment and care for addiction, sending financial aid to the Mexican government, and creating more opportunities for both citizens and immigrants to discourage criminal activity. However, if the situation worsens, it's quite possible the call for intervention could also emerge on the Democratic side, especially if Mexico continues its flirtation with Russia and China as it has done in recent years, and if it begins adopting more anti-democratic practices, which some American politicians have expressed concern over. Most interestingly enough is a seemingly very vocal support for such an intervention by a minority of Mexican Americans, the reasoning appearing to be that they fled Mexico in fear of the government's failure to solve the crisis and genuinely believe that only an American intervention has a chance of solving it and perhaps providing them the opportunity to return home. This is a sentiment not too dissimilar from the number of Chinese Americans who support an American intervention against the People's Republic of China for the sake of ending communist rule. American interest in a Mexican intervention is also distinctly different than just about every other major American conflict since the turn of the century, none of which were even based in the Western Hemisphere, let alone right along the American border. While Islamic terrorism had a major effect upon American life, many feel that the issues posed by Mexican instability have continuously affected the day-to-day lives of American citizens nationwide, and have only compounded and grown year by year. The proximity between the United States and Mexico, the degree to which Mexico's issues affect the United States, as well as the history the two countries have shared, allows the typically anti-war, anti-interventionist America First faction of the Republican Party to justify this particular military action as falling within the bounds of domestic American concerns, and within the historic bounds of the Monroe Doctrine. One might say that the politicians arguing on behalf of intervening in Mexico are no different than the politicians who initiated the wars in the Middle East, and that such politicians are hypocrites for calling themselves America First or criticizing the neoconservatives. However, it must be stressed that the motivations are certainly coming from different places. Middle Eastern wars were far off policing actions on behalf of the United States protecting its global democratic world order. The actions of and within these countries had little to no impact on the American conscience. Whereas what goes on in Mexico does have a direct impact upon American lives, and from the perspectives of the politicians now advocating these policies, they believe that resolving the problems that Mexico is facing will prevent the spread of and even stop those same problems in the United States. Mexican President Obrador has taken these threats seriously and has assumed the position that Mexico's affairs are none of the US's concern, that the issues facing the US are not at all Mexico's fault or responsibility, and that any continued discussion of military intervention will be met with an information campaign by Mexico to encourage its diaspora living within the US to politically boycott any and all politicians promoting the idea. Despite President Obrador's talks of peace, he has simultaneously taken militarization to an unprecedented level in recent times, even saturating many civilian-level jobs and positions with military staff, from policing to construction to patrolling the border, this potentially being in part motivated by concerns of American intervention and a feeling that Mexico must be prepared to defend its sovereignty if threatened. Whether or not this will occur, it's clear that both sides are viewing an American invasion of Mexico as increasingly possible. But what do you think? Might the United States invade Mexico in the near future? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. The US of Z thanks you for watching. Mr. Z, out.